In the lead up to the announcement of Apple's Vision Pro, many VR gamers were hoping that the high-end headset would do for XR what Apple had previously done for music and mobile, ushering in a new golden age of tech and revolutionizing the field. While what we got was revolutionary, the Vision Pro is far from the gaming powerhouse that some were expecting. But even though you may not be able to load up Half-Life Alyx or knock out a few rounds of Pavlov on your Vision Pro anytime soon, that doesn't mean the headset won't have a serious impact on VR gaming. From inspiring developers to up their game in terms of what sorts of XR experiences they offer, to pushing other hardware manufacturers to include cutting-edge features in their next headset, Apple Vision Pro is set to reshape the XR landscape. But although there may be bright days ahead for gamers in the wake of the Vision Pro's 2024 release, having a company with Apple's ruthless business acumen and seemingly bottomless budget enter the XR field could also spell trouble for the industry. Hi, I'm Christopher, this is the Nerd Corner, and here's why the Apple Vision Pro will be good for VR gamers, but not necessarily VR games. Before we get started, don't forget to like and share if you enjoy the video, and hit subscribe and turn on notifications to keep up to date with all my latest content. And if you want to help me keep making videos like these, stick around to the end to learn more about my new Patreon, where you can help grow the channel for as little as $1 a month. But for now, let's get into it. Even though we still have a while until early adopters can get their hands on the Apple Vision Pro, the high-tech headset is already having a ripple effect across the industry that's only likely to accelerate. While companies like Meta, ByteDance, and now HTC already offer headsets with rudimentary versions of the mixed reality features unveiled for Vision Pro, the release of Apple's debut entry into the XR market is going to lead these companies to up their game in terms of both hardware and software. Even if they don't plan on matching the Vision Pro's eye-watering $3,500 price tag, Meta and other competitors are going to want their next-gen headsets to be as close to feature parity as possible. The most immediate way that this is going to impact gamers will be with what's likely to be a coming flood of mixed reality titles for current headsets. With the reveal and early marketing of the Meta Quest 3 already leaning heavily into its mixed reality features, and games and apps ranging from Demio to the DJ Sim Tribe XR already supporting pass-through, these sorts of experiences are only going to become more common. Although the Vision Pro will be able to run in a mode similar to traditional VR, the marketing so far is focused heavily on mixed reality content, and it's likely this will extend to the majority of games available on the system as well. Not wanting to limit their market to only the select few willing to shell out nearly $4,000 to get their hands on one of Apple's first headsets, it's extremely likely that many of these games will see simultaneous launches or ports for existing headsets. Now, I totally get that there are a lot of you watching who probably couldn't care less about mixed reality games. I personally love seeing what some developers are doing with the tech, but I fully understand that it's not for everyone. The thing is, this flood of mixed reality titles is going to benefit traditional VR gamers too. The rise of comparatively simple mixed reality games could serve as a stomach-safe introduction to XR for new users, leading at least some of them to follow the same path many of us have in seeking out bigger, better, and more immersive experiences. This would create a whole new market for high-quality VR games and help assure that AAA titles like Half-Life Alyx become the norm rather than the all-too-rare exception to the rule. Another feature of the Vision Pro that's likely to pay dividends for VR gamers on other headsets is the use of foveated rendering. Already used in titles like Red Matter 2 on the Meta Quest Pro and PlayStation VR 2, foveated rendering uses eye tracking to render only the areas that the user is looking at in the highest detail, while cutting down on quality in the periphery. This can lead to a significant performance boost in games and apps, letting a headset punch above its weight when it comes to graphical fidelity. Its use is central to making Apple's Vision OS run so smoothly and seamlessly. And some talented tinkerers have already managed to stream Vision OS to the Quest Pro. As developers become more familiar with implementing foveated rendering, it's likely to be used to shore up the visuals not just for standalone apps and games, but also PC titles. But this will require eye tracking to become a standard feature, but Vision Pro can help there too. Now, even though the Quest 3 won't come with eye tracking in an effort to keep costs down, I fully expect it to become a standard feature on headsets moving forward if the Vision Pro succeeds. We've already seen it pop up in the Quest Pro, PlayStation VR 2, and the Vive XR Elite, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to see it included in Pico's next consumer headset. Social applications like the Vision Pro enhanced version of Apple's FaceTime and VR chat would be the most obvious benefactors of widespread adoption of eye tracking, but the enhanced presence it allows for could also add a whole new layer of immersion to everything from casual games like Walkabout Minigolf to team-based shooters like Breachers. What's likely to be the biggest benefit to VR gamers from a successful Vision Pro will come from companies like HTC, Valve, and Meta pushing developers to deliver high-end games to take advantage of their new high-end hardware. From the moment that the Vision Pro was first announced, Apple has made it abundantly clear that, at least with this first generation of hardware, it's not interested in the traditional VR gaming market. At this point, the only traditionally VR title that's even been announced for Vision Pro is Rec Room, which, since it also has mobile ports available, isn't even guaranteed to be a VR-focused title. Support for traditional games is made all the more unlikely by the fact that, although Apple considered shipping the headset with a finger-worn controller at one point, the company has no plans to release or support motion-tracked controllers, according to Bloomberg. This opens the door for traditional VR companies to offer the one thing the Vision Pro can't: proper VR games. Even if companies like Meta and HTC are unwilling or unable to try to match the Vision Pro's hardware, they'll be able to offer consumers gaming experiences that simply aren't possible on Apple's headset. As CEO of Pistol Whip developer Cloudhead Games Denny Unger remarked in a guest column for Upload VR, the Vision Pro is a, quote, VR headset pretending not to be a headset, that he believes will present a, quote, unique opportunity for Apple's competitors to double down on supporting virtual reality at a more affordable price point. But while the Vision Pro has the potential to create the environment for a slate of new and exciting VR games to make their way to existing headsets, Apple's entry into the XR market could also potentially make the seeming shortage of quality VR titles even worse. If the Vision Pro becomes a hit with consumers, it could become tempting for some existing developers to abandon traditional VR development, focusing instead on simple, Apple Arcade-style games that might have a higher profit margin. While this would be great for fans of Match 3 games, it definitely wouldn't be a good outcome for traditional VR gamers. Worse yet, Apple could go on an acquisition spree like Meta did in the years following its acquisition of Oculus. This could lock some of the biggest names in VR development behind exclusive contracts for years, leaving standalone and PC players to fight over the scraps. These types of acquisitions might not even lead to more games landing on Apple's own hardware, and instead just be an effort to stifle competition, as many VR gamers suspect it was the case when several of the studios purchased by Meta more or less disappeared after being acquired by the tech giant. We've already seen Apple buy up content companies like the sports and concert streaming service NextVR and remove them from competitors' platforms, and there's no reason to believe they couldn't do the same thing on the gaming side. Another way that Apple could negatively disrupt the existing XR ecosystem is by slowing progress in the field with a flood of lawsuits against competitors. During WWDC, Apple made it a point to highlight how it had obtained over 5,000 patents for the Vision Pro. While many of these are likely the same sorts of patents around proprietary tech in other headsets, Apple has a long history of using litigation to stifle competition, and it's possible they'll attempt to follow that same playbook in the XR space. Even though Apple went to great lengths to ensure that the Vision Pro wouldn't result in patent lawsuits against the company, there's no guarantee it won't sick its lawyers on any company it sees as a threat with claims of patent infringement. And while many of its patents could ultimately end up being dismissed, like what happened with Apple's ridiculous multi-year multi-touch patent debacle, trying to fight the company in court could very easily bankrupt anyone caught in its crosshairs. This could not only keep big players like Meta and Valve from being able to bring innovative new hardware to the market, but also have a chilling effect on the XR industry as a whole. At a time when the XR industry is increasingly embracing open standards, Apple's walled garden approach to hardware and software, combined with its history of litigation against competitors, could undo years of progress towards an open XR ecosystem. At this point, it's definitely worth mentioning that Apple is noticeably absent from the list of members of the Metaverse Standards Forum. Found it with an aim to, quote, encourage and enable the timely development of open interoperability standards essential to an open and inclusive metaverse, and made up of a diverse group of companies ranging from Meta and Microsoft to Sony and Siemens, it's exactly the sort of group that's needed if we're ever going to break away from every XR company having its own ecosystem. And it's also exactly the same sort of group that a company like Apple, which has fought a years-long battle against interoperability for text messaging, will likely never join. Finally, in what could be a worst-case scenario for VR fans, Apple could decide that they actually do want to be a player in the VR gaming market and devote their substantial resources towards that goal. If they were successful with a strategy like that, it could cause developers to flock to those sweet Vision OS profits and lead the XR industry to become even more price-gated than it already is. Whether the Apple Vision Pro is ultimately a success, or a failure on the level of the company's ill-fated Apple Newton handheld, remains to be seen. But one thing that's certain is that the Cupertino company's debut on the XR stage is going to have long-lasting effects on the industry as a whole. As I've hopefully done a good job of explaining over the course of this video, Apple's entry into the market could pay off for VR gamers in a big way, as companies like Meta, Pico, and HTC seek to emulate some of the Vision Pro's high-end features at a much more wallet-friendly price. And even if you're never going to seek shelter at a nightclub in VR chat, or have a face-to-face chat with a fellow avatar using a FaceTime competitor, the games you play will still benefit from more powerful hardware and the addition of advanced features like eye tracking and foveated rendering. While the massive war chest resulting from Apple's multi-trillion-dollar market cap means that the company could, in theory, simply spend or sue the competition out of business, I'm cautiously optimistic that this won't be the case. Although the Vision Pro will undoubtedly disrupt the XR industry, I believe that the industry as it stands is robust enough, even at this early stage, that other companies will find a way to remain competitive. For some, that might mean trying to go toe-to-toe with Apple when it comes to packing in the latest and greatest tech. While for others, it could mean sacrificing some bells and whistles and instead going all in on AAA games to stand out from the social and productivity-focused Vision Pro. But, as always, those are just my thoughts, and I'd love to hear what you think down in the comments. Do you think Apple Vision Pro is going to disrupt the VR industry as we know it, or is Apple setting itself up for a massive flop? And what do you think gaming is going to look like in the Vision Pro? Are we going to see some daring developer take advantage of the hardware to produce the next VR hit? Or is the best we can hope for a mixed reality version of Candy Crush floating in our living rooms? If you've watched this far, then you're exactly the type of person I want to talk to right now. I absolutely love making these videos and sharing my perspective on the XR industry. For each minute of video that you see, I'm spending roughly 2 to 3 hours researching, writing, filming, and editing to put it all together into a finished product. I want to keep making in-depth, engaging videos like this that offer up a different view than you might hear from some of the other VR channels out there. And that's why I'm asking for your support right now. I've launched a Patreon where you can help contribute to the channel, and I've thrown in some benefits that I think will make it worth your while. For just $1 a month, you can help support me as I grow the Nerd Corner, and as a way of saying thanks, I'll include your name in a list at the end of each video. For $3 a month, you'll also get access to new videos a day early, as well as an accompanying essay for long-form videos like this, where I'll go into a bit more depth about the topic. I'll also give you a shout-out in the next video I make after you subscribe. Finally, for $5 a month, you'll get everything from the previous 2 tiers, as well as the ability to submit your question to be answered in a future video. You'll also get a behind-the-scenes look at how my videos come together, with copies of the outline and script for each one, including all of the sources I used in my research. You'll also get a special thanks from me at the end of every video. No matter which tier you choose, I am so grateful for your ongoing support, and I look forward to making more great videos for you for years to come. You'll find a link to my Patreon in the description, as well as links to some of the articles I referenced in the video. Thank you again so much for stopping by. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your morning, your afternoon, your evening, your night, whatever time it is, wherever you are. I know you have a lot of choices on how you spend that time, so I really do appreciate you spending some of it here with me in the Nerd Corner. See you soon.